Welcome to another Auntie Midori's office hour. And as ever, we have been talking before this recording started. So, not going to be sharing those secrets, sorry. But it was a good conversation and so much to talk about. Holy shit. Uh, First, there's a question on this and this and this and this and this and this. What am I talking about? Am I talking about a dance move? Maybe it's a dance move. Da, 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 da. Water flowing under and lube is flowing under. Okay, somehow I have gone to Talking Heads. There's some sort of a move, right? If I remember correctly. Right. Um, yes. So we're talking about fisting. All right. So there's some folks, yes, wave, or here's another, classic Castro joke, San Francisco joke is, how do we box in San Francisco? Like this. Boxing in San Francisco. I should do that to my boxing coach when I go back. Anyhow, this hand is the hand to be made for fisting. Right? Now, I have tiny hands, which is yay. And, if you go into a party and you start waving like this, it is certainly flagging an interest in fisting. Now, fisting is essentially about attempt or process of putting in potentially majority part of one's hand into bodily orifices. Mostly people talk about vaginal canal or buttholes, but you can also fist a face. So also, well, it's called fisting. Even if it's just like first few digits and a good intention, that still counts as a fisting. However, if you're, say, running around in a certain circle of people and you find that they have tattoos of rings, maybe with like inch measurements even, or names and dates, it could be about depth. Yeah. Oh, and somebody's like, I'd like to fist to face someday. Yeah, and then in theory, you can do face and whichever hole on the other side. So you can do like pig roast with hands. Oink oink, oink oink. Human finger trap. Oh my God, spit roast. Yeah, spit roast is like penetrated from both front and back, and whichever back ends, depending if you have multiple holes. Okay, so spit roasting, human finger trap. Well, I suppose if I were in the middle of that, instead of, to be like culturally correct, it'd be a Japanese finger trap. Ah! Ooh, that was like a leather daddy joke, sort of. Okay. Um, so a bit on anatomy on things. And the reason I keep raising the left hand is, okay, so imagine a person's like in a sling, right? In a sling. And for those of you who are watching this later, you do not get the benefit of watching somebody else on a tiny screen over here in a sling that may be demonstrating that very position. Anyhow, somebody face up, legs in the air, all right? And legs in the air, fisting position. And let's say if I'm facing the fisting position, and when you think, and if we're talking about buttholes, right? All right, we got a model assuming a position. That's lovely. Okay. If I use my left hand, and it'll naturally want to curve towards the right, which also parallels the way that the internal organ moves. Right. And I read the comment. I totally read the comment. Yes, yes, there is somebody in the gallery view who has access to a sling, so everyone else is like looking to see if that happens. Yes, we know, you know who I'm talking about. So let's see. We've got a couple people in the room who wouldn't mind putting their voice up, talking about anatomy and direction. Would anyone like to speak up? And by the way, lube is your friend. Lube is oh so much your friend. Oh my God. Just like swim in the stuff, okay? Also, being hydrated is your friend, and being whatever it takes to loosen your muscles and de-stress, also your friend. Okay. Um, Now, would any of the various Orify fisting fans care to speak up your favorite lubes for various orifices? I'm happy to read about it too, or you can also like pipe up with your voice.
Sure, I can hop in on this one.
I was hoping
Um,
you would.
yeah, so I mean, I definitely have experience on both sides of this, shall we say.
By the way, do you teach this stuff as well in your teaching?
Um, this is not something I've officially taught yet. No. Well,
And for anyone,
actually, no.
yeah,
That's actually incorrect. I have taught it once. I taught a class titled Into Deep, which was deep throating, fisting, and footing.
now do you, because this is voice only, anyone who's speaking up, it is up to you to identify yourself or even promote your classes.
Not called out at all. So yes, hi, Willow or Whomping Willow on FetLife. I teach a variety of subjects, including at one point a class which included fisting and footing, because if you have small feet or an ambitious friend, that's a thing you can do too. So as for favorite lube, um, first consideration is if the person who is going to be inserted into has preferences on lube, whatever they know works best for their body is going to be the first choice, whether that's water-based or silicone. I'm personally a big water-based fan. Slippery stuff, water-based gel is my go-to for literally everything. Um, that said, I know a lot of people do swear by silicone-based lube or a hybrid, just for the sheer fact that it's not going to dry out on you and will generally last longer. Um, at the end of the day, if you have enough of it, any lube will do pretty much.
Yep. And this is where, if any of you have may have noticed snickering, snorting jokes about the smell of Crisco. Uh, Crisco has been associated, especially in back in the day, in gay male-centered sex clubs and fisting. There would be a jar of a can of Crisco next to a sling, or guys would take like the long brick of Crisco, freeze it into essentially like a Crisco bullet, right? And it shapes itself into the anatomy. Now, the problem with uh, Crisco is it is not latex friendly. So that's something to think about. So if you get some folks having, smell of Crisco, you will know that that is a OG fisting reference. Now, anyone else want to talk about any of your favorite lubes and or fisting or footing of various Orify favorite tips? Let's see, gels. Yeah, I do find for the butt stuff, I agree with somebody in the room that I do like the thicker consistency stuff, right? Um, and
I do have one comment.
yes,
I am very small. I'm all of 98 pounds and 4'8". And as a fault, I have always had small hands, so I've only had maybe 3 partners I haven't been able to fist either one, both. Slings are great for that, as mentioned. You don't have a lot of pressure. You're just open. You're just laying there, ready to relax. Um, I've never been. I have yet to be vaginally fisted successfully, though I have gold for it for well over a decade, coming on 20 years. But now that I've had my hysterectomy, I haven't yet been with somebody who has a small enough hand to do that. My husband is 6'2". That's not going to happen. But I'm hoping to maybe find a smaller, queer, smaller hand. If I'm looking at hands a lot, I'm hoping hoping that after this histo, I'm a little looser now. I'm a little postmenopausal, more elasticity. That will be my goal for this year once I'm vaccinated. But yeah, that was all. That was my ad. Is I'm excited to do that soon. Buttholes, yes, all the left. Go, everybody, comment on that. I feel like we've said a lot of good things.
Actually, post-hysterectomy or post-menopausal vaginal fisting, I don't know much about that. Would you care to comment on that? Or would anyone else care to comment on that? Because I'd love to learn.
I am using an estrogen gel, you should know, to kind of keep things from really getting too lax or tearing or getting fragile, the skin
Are
getting
you
fragile.
using the estrogen gel, the external stuff or the internal stuff?
Internal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, given that using the estrogen gel, or for anyone who doesn't really have any atrophy in the area, basically, as long as the tissues are all well and good, happy and healthy, it shouldn't make too much of a distant difference post-histo or not. You can lose a tiny bit of size depending on what style of hysterectomy they do, basically whether or not you keep your cervix or not.
I did not keep my cervix, and I've had to go back and have basically liquid silver nitrate put in to kind of help heal it up. I had a little bit of trouble. Low B for me. I couldn't wait. What?
Shocking.
Shocking.
Yeah. So honestly, that really shouldn't make much of a difference. The challenge is entry. Once you get the hand in, assuming, I mean, if you're playing with like a basketball player,
You know that I have plethora of toys, and there's now a definite size increase.
excellent.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping. Yeah. I'm still a little sore. Just in the pocket where you can feel that they've removed things. It feels like a little bruisey on the inside. But I'm still only 7 months out now. I imagine that after a year, that'll be less of an issue.
Definitely.
Okay. Hoping. I'm very impatient.
I'm sure. I mean, that is a long time, but it's a slow process and it's a slow healing from a big surgery. I do have some very specific tips and tricks that have worked for me. I have, in addition to fisting a handful of other people, I can also fist myself. I'm currently working on getting my partner to fist me. He has very, very large hands, so that's a work in progress, but getting myself, the issue is more my back flexibility than hand size. To anyone who is in here tonight and actually seeing camera, my knuckles fold in quite far, so I have very nicely shaped hands for fisting. They become much more tubular than average. So
I'm gonna be that kid later. You know I'm gonna try that later. You know that, right?
oh yeah, I know. And hey, it's pandemic friendly play. So couple tips. One thing that has been it's worth a shot if you feel like you're getting really close, but you know it's just not quite there, or or you're having issues with it feeling slippery enough to quite get that last little in. Get a couple of female or insertable condoms if you can. Otherwise, get like magnums, whatever you can get around your hand. Basically one inserted, so female condom inside, and either then other female condom or regular condom over your hand, so you have slippery on slippery. That has been that last little like 2% difference for some people.
I love the any condoms. Yeah, the internal condoms are fantastic.
I've actually thought about that to kind of save so much of the brutal hit against where I recently, had surgery. But I've thought about using the female condoms.
Yeah. Other biggest tip, and this is what really unlocked several goal toys for me. Get an inflatable anal plug. You can get them for like $20 off of eBay, but you're not going to use it how you think. Rather than like putting it in the sphincter and slowly blowing it up, because that is.
I was going to say I have one.
So that works, but what I have found really effective: insert it all the way, blow it up, slowly work it out. deflate, insert, blow it up farther, slowly work it out. I can grab the one I have to show you what style I use, because it's phenomenal for it. That
I mean, if
seriously,
we don't mind taking the time, I'm totally down. I
it's
am
one
so
room, it's one room
curious.
over. And I'll show you the toys that unlocked for me, because it made a shocking
Yeah.
difference.
Giving me a ton of great ideas already.
See, office hours. This is great. Let's see. Now, I love also having kinky medical professionals in the room too. This is great. Anyone else want to? Somebody asked about. Um, from what reading here, from what I heard, the ring thing started in the gay leather scene, but don't quote me on it yet. The gay leather scene on the ring tattoos, because when you think about it, tattoos back in the day were really transgressive. I mean, today everyone has a tattoo, except for maybe the Queen of England, who might even have a tattoo as well. I mean, who knows? But there was a time not too long ago that any form of tattoos were transgressive, and tattoos that showed were also a very transgressive public marking of one's alienation, if you will, right? Because it shows, right? And so the ring tattoos were um, with a subsector of gay male leather. And since mostly they didn't play with vaginas, that this was marking of butt depth. Okay. Um,
I was gonna say I'd like to know the mechanics there if that was a thing, but thank you for clarifying.
yeah. Yeah. So, that's it. It's essentially a tribal marking of an outsider status, because today we totally take tattoos and visible body modification for granted, to a point that my piercer friends, professional piercer friends, are noticing that there's significantly less genital piercings than they used to be, and it's all what my friends call Instagram piercings. So it becomes body modification as self-expression is now achieving norm, where it wasn't long ago that it was an act of public rebellion. And if you're marking this publicly, it's a whole nother thing. Anyone else? Let's
And
see. Yeah.
So first off, speak for yourself about not having a ton of genital piercings.
Well,
Where
yeah, I'm talking about what's selling at the
I know what's statistically changing.
right, what the demand in the retail storefront is. I do want to comment on, before Willow does the show and tell, and uh, that fisting, whether whatever lower holes you got, right, with a corset, fisting with corset, okay? Mentioning that because it creates pressure on the other side and changes arrangement, and somebody's having a mind blown and some new ideas, I can tell in their face. Yes. Okay. Yes, you're blushing. I can see you're blushing. Corset and fisting. And corsets are not exclusively femme. There's butch corsets, there's gender queer corseting, there's fashion corseting, there's you're a fucked up weirdo corseting, there's corseting for bondage purposes, and you can also create corsets off of rope. If you're using metal and plastic boned corset, it'll also create different sensations. So keep that in mind. All right, Willow, take it away.
Sure, and I'm okay if you want to share videos to include the brief toy demo in the.
Okay, you're okay with that? Then I'm
Yeah.
totally adding spotlight to you. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so for starters, This was my old goal plug for a long time. So for reference,
Oh.
we're looking about 6-inch diameter, so fairly hefty. This was a problem toy for a long time. Now it's like a couple minutes and boop, no problem. The toy that unlocked that for me, this style of inflatable plug. So this is a complete balloon. Like there's nothing in here, so it squishes down really easily to get in. It's maybe an inch diameter. And then when you blow it up, it'll get pretty big. So the suggestion was get it all the way in, blow it up, and then work it out. The logic behind this idea is that it's generally easier, assuming we're working on fisting a butt, to expel a large thing than to get a large thing in. This is just kind of one of these directions is more natural for the body than the other. One of these, like you feel pressure pulling out, the body kind of figures out what it's supposed to do. So that kind of helps open it up. This unlocked no problem. New goal toy for amusement's sake.
Unlocked. I like that.
Dun, 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 dun. The finger.
Dimensions, please, because
Dimensions on my dear friend. We're at about 14-inch length, which I've played with some depth toys, so that's doable.
that's like the size of my forearm.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I like to just like, he's a significant boy.
Okay, what's the name of this and where did you get the finger?
I'll drop a link. This is a toy from Mr. Hankey's collection, the Midas Touch. And at the base, it's about 11-inch diameter. When the day it arrived, I tried it. I could get to first knuckle. Which, I mean, definitely a improvement. This is as far as my hand gets around it. Yeah, for reference, fisting myself, limited back flexibility, I can get to about here. And then it's like my back is going to give out. Otherwise, I could definitely get farther. But I'll drop a link in chat for friends who are interested in the finger. It is surprisingly realistic. It has a fingerprint. Like the texture on this thing is no joke.
I'm sensing a murder mystery here.
Right? That was my thought. But like,
and the fingerprint. Why is there a giant fingerprint on this?
I love this thing. Like, even if I never actually took it, just like I love it. And just like being able to gesture and just like I choose you.
There's a question in the room saying that I'm baffled on how anything that goes in without being tapered, does it just take a lot of practice?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's definitely kind of a, oh.
It can also double as a percussive toy, right?
Oh gods, yes. You could knock someone out with this. It's like heavy.
So that'd be good for Womp and the Willow?
Yes. Things I sincerely hope to experience post-pandemic.
Man, that would be satisfying to like just like beat some ass and then whole nother bit about, I mean, that's like a different perspective of slip a finger in the butt.
And it was pointed out to me after I got it. They do custom colors. So if someone wanted, they could get a green one and then you could be fingered by the Jolly Green Giant. Just putting that, or the Hulk, yeah, just putting that idea out into the public sphere. If anyone does that, you will have my eternal gratitude.
Or the Hulk, because, okay, I'm imagining a Thor Hulk role-playing scene. He's a colleague from work. You know, the scene I speak of. Yes, the Hulk. Or, well, and then there's that whole thing about E.T.
Yes.
Yeah, and yeah, okay, alien proctologist, here we go.
Literally hurt.
Okay, so what other questions?
Somebody just said just the tip.
The tip. The tip's a lot. Have you seen this? Like, it's my whole palm.
Yeah. My God. Yeah. Okay. That's yeah. That is some impressive show and tell. Any questions for the finger? Okay, so question, how do you store these? I assume it's silicone?
Yes, it is silicone. I have a little bit of a collection. Some of them are displayed on my walls like art, and I have giant under the bed storage bins, and one of the bin is just devoted to toys. So
And
I've got two like little shelving units where they're just like artfully arranged. Yes.
nice. Well, with the base, you could do it like wine glasses upside down. You know how like
Yes.
those, yeah. Um, yeah, toys as wall art, absolutely. Now with silicone, here's an odd little problem I had years ago with silicone. I had a partner at the time whose silicone dicks kept disappearing. They had a ferret. And then one day they pulled out a drawer, and like behind the drawer, the ferret had made a ferret hidey hole. And all of these half chewed silicone toys with
That's
little
tragic.
ferrety teeth mark. Yeah.
I've heard they're little thieves, and an old friend of mine had a couple of them, and they would steal her bras, and she was rather well endowed, so one would sleep in each cup wherever they stashed it, which A, adorable, and B, those are expensive.
Right. And somebody just said, I had a cat who liked to eat my dildos. Yeah. I mean, there's one thing about, you can say about a pussy that likes to swallow a good, dildo, but then there's like the kitty that destroys it. Yeah.
I had a dog that was prevalent for eating right through the crotch, in just the crotch of only the leather harnesses. Yeah.
There is a specific clause in more than one toy manufacturer's warranty that they do not cover damage from teeth marks.
Yep. All right. Anything doggy eats a crotch out of panties. Yep. Yep. Yeah, indeed. Um, things they don't cover on Animal Planet. Animal Planet after hours. Yeah, indeed. Anyone else have all right, thank you for the warning. Let's see. Anyone else have a question about the finger or butt stuff or any other hole fisting or footing? Or something to add to it, perhaps. Okay.
One other comment I'll throw in real quick.
Yeah.
If anyone ever tries to say to you that the condom's too small, the condom doesn't fit, I can fit in a normal size Magnum on my foot up like a sock to about here. So, and I don't have bizarrely tiny feet, so the condom's big enough, the condom will fit.
And pray tell, why would you be putting a condom on your foot?
For science, to see if the foot would fit, both the condom and the person. And I will say, I do definitely enjoy trying to make a slipper out of my friends. I've never gotten past the heel, but I am ambitious that someday I will get past the heel.
Oh, so you have mules, not full shoes.
Yes, I've made clogs out of friends.
Clogs, okay. And, hopefully you get a chance to go to the Netherlands.
That would be delightful. I have a photo that I dream of taking, just like two submissives, like one flat on the ground, like one up on their knees, and just like a foot in each ass, just like Captain Morgan pose. Things I aspire to do.
Yep. Somebody said they're gonna try wearing condoms as socks now, as like, little advertising. Find a reptile pet player and you can have Crocs. Okay, see, somebody earlier asked me about my inspirations for creativity, and may I say bad puns are one of those. And we are totally going there. Yup.
Absolutely. Just the absurd shit we come up with like this. I love it.
Yeah.
This is part of why I love King so much.
Reptile pet players getting footed would be wearing Crocs. Yep. Mm-hmm. Totally. All right. Any somebody's dying there. Are you able to breathe? Because I'm seeing you laughing so hard. Okay.
If they can't breathe, you might have gone too deep.
Okay, like there's such absurdity to like putting large things into smaller body parts that I think it naturally lends itself to bad jokes, um, including Doctor Who jokes, because some people are TARDISes. Yep. Oh my God, it's bigger on the inside. Yes. Yep. So, it's bad puns and jokes. So that's one of the inspiration source. All right. If any further questions or comments for Willow, otherwise I'm gonna kick them off the stage. But thank you for sharing. I think we all appreciated that. Yep. And
Super insightful. Thank you.
yeah.
Happy to help.
Okay. On that note, well, did we cover the question of anatomy and like stuffing small holes? All right, good. Okay. And which would naturally led to like somebody asked about my source of inspiration, right? Ridiculousness, that's part of it. Generally, what if? Sometimes it's now somebody asked about household objects, right? So there's a whole category called pervertibles. Pervertibles is things that are intended for mainstream use that then can be co-opted into erotic use. I swear, like second use of any new technological development is sex, right? Anything new, right? Um, so like, the car was invented for transportation. Next thing you know, the back seat people are shagging, right? The internet was developed for science and military communication. And then you get, cats and porn. Phone, it's like, hello, Mr. Watson, what are you wearing? The ability to write pictographs, to communicate something sacred, and then you have pornography, right? So second use of any technology seems to be sex, right? Um, yeah, when you think of like Bluetooth technology on wireless sex toy, we're taking swords to butt plowing as opposed to swords to plowshare. So, so industrial lubricants, yeah, the hardware store, totally. Butt plowing, yeah. So looking at objects and thinking of alternative uses. That's certainly one of my sources of inspiration. And let's see, the butt crop looks good this year. See, bad puns. Yeah. Nice image. Small, naked, upturned butts poking out of the soil. Now we're sort of getting into the realm of the cartoons that you would see in Monty Python. Any Monty Python fans out there? Opening sequence, weird stuff in there. I mean, tell me that's like not like proto pornographic. Yep.
I mean, the cartoonist was pretty pornographic.
Yeah. And let's see. Oh, spaghetti measuring device. Yeah, the kitchen is full of it. I love Asian dollar stores because, oh my God, the things you can do. Like the worst and most entertaining clips that I found were Hello Kitty memo clips. It's just like adds like so many layers to it, right? So like I used to do a pervertibles class where, I'll have like $20 and go to a place and see what I could find, and finding alternate use. Or I'll do a pervertibles challenge where I'll do this at Dark Odyssey, right? I'll have like a bag of weird stuff and I hand it out to people and challenge people to come up with not obvious use, right? Like if you, because there's always different ways to use something. There might be the obvious pervertible use, and then what else could you do with it? Yes, okay. Oh, good, Willow. Thank you for posting all those links. And let's see. What was the question that was being thirded? How would you say your internal experience of changes between your mad science scenes versus more quiet and perhaps sacred scenes? All right, so that was asked to whom? Asked to of asking of me or of Willow? I'll read the question again. How would you say your internal experience changes between your mad science scenes versus more quiet and perhaps sacred scenes? I think that might be, Willow, a you question. Oh, to me. Okay. But I also like to hear what Willow has to say too. I don't know if I so much do mad science scenes as kind of like mad Martha Stewart scenes. So, thinking more on that side of things. Um, I don't think I go into a scene thinking for it to be sacred. I think I just stumble onto it. So I don't plan for it. I just stumble into it. Um, I think the pervertibles or the funny, goofy scenes tend to loosen up from linear thinking to non-linear thinking, and sometimes there's a moment of like laughing so hard you just start crying, or like laughing so hard you lose your breath, and then the emotion shifts. I personally don't um, plan for something being sacred or ritualistic. Other people do, like for example Lee Harrington, like that's a good one, or Caroline Carrington. They definitely plan for it. um, I am, as I like to joke with Caroline, stealth woo. I'm not like out woo, so I like to just kind of stumble into it. um, yeah, sometimes it's I'm laughing so hard I'm like suddenly start crying kind of thing. um, yeah, and it's like tea. Sometimes it's just a cup of tea, and sometimes it's a moment of reflection, and sometimes it's something deeper. And at another times it's a caffeine drug delivery device. So that's it. Now, I, I like the puzzle of figuring out alternative uses. I'm not, I'm not much of like, we all have different kinds of games and puzzles we like to play. And I tend to like figure out what I can do with this. I think even as a kid, I think maybe because I didn't have a lot of stuff as a kid, right? Um, Things had to be made into other things. And I took delight in that. I didn't know because I was a kid that it was because we were poor. I just thought that, oh, there's all these things that I can do with these things that my grandmother got me. Wow. So, yeah. Um, let's see. I'm reading the comments here. That's why I'm like creepily leaning in. All right. Any thoughts on from the group around the the mad hilarity or mad science or mad Martha Stewart shifting to, the profane to the sacred, if you will?
I'd say the biggest difference for me is how much chatter there is during the scene. The mad scientist, the goofy scenes tend to be fairly talky scenes, or either back and forth, or if they can't speak for whatever reason, me just like mocking them, carrying the full conversation myself with whatever reactions they are producing or capable of. But when it's the sacred ones, and I would class myself more towards stealth woo. It's not something I seek out, but it's definitely something that happens, and I find myself in those spaces. Those are the scenes that suddenly go silent. It's just in the eye contact. It's just in the physical touch. Nothing needs to be said because we're in that sort of flow state, just like you'd hit in sports or work or anything else, and we are vibing, whatever terminology you want to use for it. And those are my quietest scenes when we hit that space.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Now, somebody posted here saying, I find myself seeking more sacred activity. You may also want to look at where Neo Tantra or Western Tantra overlaps into kink, though not all practitioners of modern or Western Tantra digs the kink stuff. So that might be a potential. Somebody else wrote, I find once we get going, the role plays and wacky stuff tends to fall away once we're both happily settled into our happy places. That's when things start to feel more sensual and profound. Yeah. Okay, good. And to the person who's seeking more sacred activities, you might want to check out Lee's book, Lee Harrington's books. Definitely. Um, and somebody else said, I'd have to say some same though. I don't expect all the things as get planned. Um, yeah. So highly recommend Lee. Yep, there it is. Okay. Yep. And if you go back in some of the archives, Lee's stopped in and did um, a talk around his tarot cards, and also Lee, I believe, has a Patreon. So if somebody would be so kind as to put that in there. Oh, 15 minutes before workout that I gotta go. Thank you, thank you. And so would somebody put Lee's Patreon in the link? And I would heartily suggest supporting him. Also check out I think it was around the new year. It was the first week of the new calendar year that Lee did a presentation on tarot in my archives. So check it out. Okay. Oh, thank you very much. Passion and Soul. Thank you. Good. So I have like 10 minutes before I gotta go and bottom to my workout trainer. Whoa. Gosh, I have a bunch of other topics already. And um, oh, I so want to touch the kink and healing from top or bottom perspective, model versus bottom, intro to kink to a newbie top. All right. Um, hmm. Thank you on the person who's willing to differ there. Uh, I want to briefly touch on and if I can hopefully hold on to these questions for the next time, or you remind me of these, that'd be great. Um, let's see. And I've got, oh, did you all see my announcement that I shifted one of my May office hours? At a conflict. All right. So I do want to quickly touch on the model, uh, rope bondage, modern and very recent terminology of talking about models and riggers. And I am going to totally admit that this is me being cranky pants on this. Models are terms to use when the person who is receiving the rope is there for the purpose of a non-emotional experience. including but not limited to photo shoot, or demonstrating in a classroom, or being a practice buddy, not emotionally engaged. When people are receiving rope, that does not necessarily mean that they are always modeling. Sometimes the very same two people who are casting and receiving rope, they may be topping and bottoming. They may be modeling and styling. They may be um, demonstrating and teaching. But I do find that people are using the term model to refer to when it gets confusing to me. And I also find it sets up spoken and unspoken expectations. And I feel like it's emotionally distancing. Model. Model seems passive. Um, and passive in a different way than, say, like a submission that is, submission doesn't have to be passive, by the way. Submission can be active. There's also more passive or quieter submission. I find when imposing the word model to somebody who's receiving rope, there's a whole lot of assumptions that go into that. It makes me really uncomfortable. And a person receiving rope may be modeling, may not, may be bottoming, may actually be topping and dominating the scene. So for example, since Willow was up on stage, I'm going to can I drag you up on screen as like
Sure.
role play, verbal role play here? I'm gonna add spotlight
Okay.
here. All right.
Yeah.
So let's say you and I and a bag of rope. Okay, you and I and a bag of rope. Um, so yes, all right. So let's say, hey, honey, I'm going to a play party tonight and I have nothing to wear. Would you design an outfit on me?
I'd love to. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Great. Now, in this case, folks, is anyone topping or bottoming in this? No, I'm receiving rope. You're designing rope. Am I submitting to you? Are you
Not-
dominating me? No. Are we having a scene? Not
It
really.
depends. Could easily turn into a scene.
Could be, but it could also just be, hey, make an outfit for me,
Hmm.
right? And if we were to have a scene, we probably, have some conversation or context around that. But it could just be, and I've done like styling, right? Or here's another one. All right. Hey, I'm having a boudoir photo taken of me by my photographer friend Michelle. Would you put rope on me?
Sure. What do you have in mind? Yeah.
Okay. In this case, we have a rigger and a model and a photographer. Okay. Let's say the photo shoot is being designed by Michelle, my photographer. Then in that case, artistically speaking, she's the top of all of us. Because then Michelle will be saying, Willow, no, need a little, but not da, right? On the other hand, maybe it's my boudoir photo, and I'm like, no, Willow, I want this. Michelle, I want this. So who's the top in that case? May. On the other hand, maybe this is for Willow's book, and you
Hmm.
have certain chapters and things. Then in this case, the creative director, creative dominance, if you will, is Willow, and we're following your direction. On the other hand, let's say it's a scene, and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't bottomed in forever. I'm so stressed out. I kind of need to just be able to let go. Hey, Willow, how about it?
All right. I've got a suspension in mind for you.
All right. In which case, you have somebody who's casting rope, who's engaging in dominance, and I'm receiving rope and I'm engaging in submission. All right. Now, let's say, on the other hand, hey, Willow, I'm not feeling any of that top bottom shit, but I'd like to, um, be lassoed up and then curse the fuck out of you.
Okay, I'm
And try
game.
to bite your ankle. Mm. Or it could be that I am going to make you tie me up to my standards.
Yeah, total switch on that. So could easily top the hell out of me for a scene like that.
Mhm. So then I'm receiving rope, but I'm dominating the scene. You're casting rope and you're topping with rope, but you're submitting to my desires.
Yeah, I think that's a really important distinction because it often top or bottom, like top often gets used as shorthand for the one, on the handle under the flogger, but it really isn't necessarily the case.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is why I have a problem with um, the model rigor language, especially since I've got a whole bunch of friends who are union card carrying stage theatrical riggers who go through loads of training, right? Um, in terms of like hanging those giant speakers. And I had a friend of mine who quite literally as an adult ran away and joined the circus and like would like work with the trapeze artists. So stuff like that. Um, yes, it totally ties into Betty Martin's consent wheel. It also ties into, if anyone's seen Midori's BDSM appetite grid, it's somewhere out there. Willow, I'm gonna put you back into the bleachers. Thank you so much for role playing with me. I really appreciate that. Right. Okay. So I got 5 minutes to get to my workout, so I'm gonna close the recording. Y'all stick around just a sec. All right. So hopefully that was a good little summary about why I get itchy around the term model. If you mean model, fine. Let's separate who's casting and receiving. And thank you again, Willow, for your contribution and help with that role playing because it just made it a lot easier to talk about that. And for those of you who are watching this later, I hope you'll join us sometime live because the conversation before and after gets really funny. On that note, I'm going to pause the recording. Y'all stick around just a sec, okay? And see you at another office hour.